Yeah, a few people. It's good. And talking about creativity. Why is creativity so important? Why is it important to recognize yourself as a creator? Talking about you are not who you think you are. Because how we think about ourselves defines our realities. And believe it before you can see it. So starting to set up new patterns, new possibilities, new thoughts, and new ways of moving into the world so that you can then attract and create the things you want with a lot more ease and effortlessness. We're going to talk about the 7 keys of the creative process, which is a very cool tool. So we'll go through 7 key steps that you guys can take home, and I recommend you write those steps down and think about them because they're very powerful. And for me, it was a big aha to see the sequence of these steps. It really fills in a lot of gaps in the personal development and spirituality process. It brings those two worlds together. It's like a nice melding between Eckhart Tolle and Tony Robbins. And focus dictates reality, which is really where are you going to take this? What are you going to do with this? So the hero's journey. The hero's journey is an archetypal story. So if you've ever seen Star Wars, or if you've ever seen The Matrix, or if you've ever seen any typical hero movie that goes from a character who's stuck in one particular state of mind and typically is kind of uncomfortable in his comfortableness. He wants to change, he wants to create something new. And he gets pushed out of that by either a disaster or he steps out of that willingly because he wants something bigger, he wants an adventure. And this is where the hero's journey begins. And the hero's journey is that process from being basically a dependent childish psychology to an actualized, effective adult in some aspect of your life. And the hero's journey can be like epic, like some people have massive hero's journeys when it comes to, they may have a big breakdown in their life and they have to rebuild their whole lives. Whereas sometimes we have little hero's journeys on a continual basis as well. It might be a hero's journey to do this week's goals, or a hero's journey even just to go to the shops and buy some food. And sometimes the hero's journeys are really easy, sometimes they're challenging. And the important thing to get here is that the hero's journey is universal and we're all on it. And being aware of this hero's journey gives us the psychological backup to know what to expect and to almost be willingly eager to want to step on this journey and to live life as a hero's journey. Because if we don't know what's going on, and I see this, I get this with clients on a regular basis, they're pulling their hair out like, am I crazy? Like, well, do I just think like this? And the truth is that most people, I think as the family of humanity, we're all experiencing the same basic field of emotions. We're all experiencing the same basic environment of possibilities. We all basically want the same stuff. We want to feel good, we don't want to feel bad. We want to feel loved and accepted and appreciated. We don't want to feel rejected and neglected and judged. So everybody's on some variation of a journey to navigate through that field. And there's some like universal processes that happen with this. And when you see that and you know that, then it just makes you so much stronger because you start to define yourself as the hero on the journey. You start to define yourself as the man becoming the hero. And in our lifestyles, in our modern sort of society, the idea of the hero's journey has been kind of watered down and commercialized in a big way. So Hollywood movies reproduce it all the time because it triggers stuff in our brains. Like when we see the hero's journey played out on movie screens, we feel really good because it reminds us, yeah, I want to be a hero. I want to have that thing in my life. I want to be actualized as well. But the thing is that it's often really abstracted and really projected outside of ourselves. So we're only allowed to access the hero through a movie screen, behind the glass, behind our TVs, whatever. It's always outside of ourselves. Whereas if you look at cultures of old, what they would often do, or what they did do, a very big part of their culture, was encouraging the people in their culture to step into the role of the hero. And that's why myths were so important and initiation rites were so important and cultural celebrations were set up in such a way where people would go through mythological journeys and relate themselves directly to the characters. So they became the heroes and then they own those energies inside themselves. And you guys are doing that by being here today to some degree. You're stepping into the role of deciding to really own change, deciding to own transformation. And really get the steps integrated inside yourself so that you can become that hero on a daily basis. And it's a universal thing that you see over and over again, that extraordinary people in any field, doesn't matter what field, they're connected with something bigger than themselves. They're doing what they do because they love it, but the reason that they also love it is because it serves something bigger than them and they're serving something bigger than themselves. So it's a feedback loop of positive energy that gets created from being on this journey of transformation and creating and being involved with something bigger than themselves. So when it comes to your journey as men and your journey as heroes, then you've got to start to think about what's the bigger picture that you're serving? What are you really creating and what are you tapping into? And when you think about it in terms of evolving as a man and becoming something greater than you've ever been before, that's really a contribution to the whole pool of humanity. That's taking care of your own backyard. And that is something to be proud of. It's something to pat yourself on the back for. And it's something to really show up for on a daily basis and do as well. So, as I said before, when we know the hero's journey is happening, then it gives us the preparation to be able to face the challenges. And it shows that we are always experiencing hero's journeys in different ways. Because it's a universal principle. And you're going to see it popping up in your life more and more and more. And what I mean by that is you're going to face challenges. You're going to need to grow beyond those challenges. Then there's going to be a sense of fear about stepping beyond your comfort zone. Then there's going to be a desire to want to go back into your comfort zone. But you can't go back into your comfort zone because you already know there's a bigger world out there. So what are you going to do? Live uncomfortably in comfort, or step up and make changes? And when you step out into that unknown world, then you're in a no man's land for a little while. I don't know what to do. What new skills? I don't know. It can be really scary. You might need to create new allies, new friends, new possibilities. You have to find the resources inside yourself to believe in yourself, to create the changes. And then what happens is when you create those resources inside yourself, which we'll talk about today, then you start to attract people into your life that are reflective of that. You start to attract situations, circumstances, information, and things that resonate with your internal resources and your internal sense of heroism that's happening. Now, this isn't to say that you won't face challenges. Challenges are going to show up. And the trippy thing is that you are asking for those challenges on some level because that's what we're all here for. If we don't face challenge, we don't grow. Just like a baby needs to fall over to learn how to walk. If you look after a baby and you make sure the baby never falls over, it never gets to learn important things like balance. It never gets to learn about how to deal with pain. It never gets to learn how to deal with, how to actually live in the body properly. And it's exactly the same thing in our lives. We live in this life where we've been mollycoddled by our society so much, and we live in so much fear of really going out there and being free that it's just becoming this stifled, stagnant way of being. So, own your hero's journey and go beyond what you've been told you can be. And we'll talk about that today as well. So this is all of us. All of us are on the hero's journey. And maybe it's a big universal thing. We're all experiencing it as one. But own your part of it. And the more you do it, I'm sure you've noticed, every time you step up and you do something with passion in your life, or you do something with certainty and you face challenges and you grow through it, you start shining light in the world around you. Other people will get encouraged and feel positive about it as well. Every time you have a breakthrough, it gives people certainty and empowerment to then make breakthroughs for themselves. So you start giving good energy to the world. You start encouraging things to move forwards and upwards rather than backwards and downwards, which is what happens when people think about their fears and their doubts. So the responsibility to create the change inside your life is your own. No one else can do it for you. So you're here in this weekend to learn information, to see presenters, to get good stuff, which is good. And we can give you cues and we can give you doorways and we can give you possibilities to move along new directions, new possibilities. But at the end of the day, it's got to be you that owns it, that says, yep, I want to make the changes for myself. I want to create these changes inside who I am and what I want to be. Because you're driving the bus. And that can be a really difficult thing to own sometimes. And that's got to do with that hero's journey I was just talking about. Because the childish part of ourselves doesn't want to drive the bus. Wants someone else to drive the bus. Doesn't want to be responsible. And our society loves to take the responsibility away from us. Because if we're not responsible for driving our bus, then someone else can just sort of direct our lives for us.